Hey, what's going on? Jonah Fox here, and in today's video I want to give you an introduction to the world of low harmonicas. I want to explain what they're all about and give you some recommendations and show you what you would use them for. So let's go and get started. So low harmonicas are any harmonicas that are tuned lower, an octave lower than the standard range of harmonica keys. So in the standard range we have G on the low end, and then we have F sharp all the way up high. So anything below that is going to be labeled as a low harmonica. Now, you're going to use low harmonicas a little bit differently, and they have their own different challenges. Now, compared to a standard range of harmonicas, like this is a C harmonica, the pitch is relatively high, right? Okay, so it's relatively up there in the register, and we kind of want that because when we're playing over music or we're playing with another musician, we want that pitch to be high so we actually break through on the mix. So low harmonicas, they don't cut through the music quite as well, but what they do very well is, first of all, they just sound great. They can be really great for chordal playing or for some more kind of like a rhythmic feel when you're playing with another person. So I have three that I'm going to demonstrate today. One is going to be the Seydel 1847 low, and another is going to be the Hohner Thunderbird, the low version of the crossover. And then finally I have a Rocket low, and these are all in different keys so you can see the range of different low harmonicas. And I'm going to start with the Rocket. Now the Rocket is as high as low harmonicas can go, and this is in the key of F sharp, so it's just a half step down below the G. But right away, you can hear that chord, it just sounds really good. And it just has a very different feeling to like a high F sharp, which is ear piercing. It's a harmonica that I use a lot when I perform, but it's really high up there. And so one way that you can view low harmonicas is just a more pleasant way of playing some of those really high keys. So like F is a very common low harmonica key. I'm on an F sharp because I play with someone who's usually tuned a half step down. And you could do all the same stuff you can normally do on it. And when you're really close to that cutoff between low and like the standard range of harmonicas, the bends are going to be still pretty easy to do. So like they just feel really good. You'll feel the harmonica vibrate more. It just feels better to play. Like I'm a guitarist, right? And electric guitar, you know, it feels okay. You can shred on it, it feels good. But when you play an acoustic guitar, you feel this vibration on the instrument go through you, and it just feels wonderful. And it's kind of the same thing with low harmonicas. I really like these low Rocket harmonicas. Obviously, this one isn't very low, but they handle the low keys very well. And I just think Rockets are one of the most solid harmonicas you can get on the market today. Super reliable, very easy to play. Highly recommend them. All right, so the F sharp that I demoed a minute ago is pretty high in the key. It's actually not that different than a standard range of harmonica. And the one I have right here is a low D. And so now we're getting pretty low, and we're really going to get some of the positives about low harmonicas to be a little bit more amplified, but it's also going to be a little harder to play. So this is an 1847 classic low harmonica. It has really tall cover plates, and you kind of need to have that because in the low octave, the reeds need to travel farther. And so you need to give a little bit more clearance on that. Like the next harmonica I'm going to show you is the Thunderbird, and if you notice on the Thunderbird, it's very minor, but you can kind of see there's like a taper going off to one side, and it's the same idea, just so you can get those low reeds to really move. But on the Seydel one, it's all the way across. So here's what this one sounds like. Oh, it just feels so good to play. It has a great sound. Now, one of these low harmonicas is really good for this kind of chord-based jamming stuff where you're just keeping your chords going. You're doing some improvised playing over top of that. That's what I really use these for. And let me just show you what that would sound like here. I'll have tabs below on the screen. I really think that these things have a great sound. It's not quite as resonant as the next harmonica I'm going to show you, but really solid harmonicas. Now, one thing I want to point out is as you get lower in keys, your harmonicas are going to get way harder to bend. So like this one, if I get the bend, obviously, you know, I can play them, but my tongue is really caving in to get to those notes. I'm a tongue blocking player and I bend with my tongue, and that's the way that I teach as well. And you really got to exaggerate it on these low harmonicas. And don't be surprised if you pick up a low harmonica and you try to play with it and you realize that you can't get the bends. It might take you a couple days to get used to bending that deeply so you really get the full bend on your low harmonicas. And the lower you go, the harder that is. So this Seydel 1847, definitely a good choice as far as low harmonicas. Keep in mind the high cover plates. You can replace them with standard cover plates if you wanted to. Has a really nice dark comb there. Really like it. Just feels good, looks good. It has a great tone. And of course, on the low harmonicas too, it's like the lower notes are much lower, but the higher notes are lower and they're more close to the middle range that we would play in. So you might actually find them to be more useful. Also, blow bends are a little easier on low harmonica. So if you find that really hard to control your blow bends, you might have an easier time on a low harmonica. So the Seydel 1847, definitely a good choice. Really nice design, really good sounding harmonica. And they make these in very low keys. They even offer some low keys, which is 2 octaves below. And those are going to be much harder to play, but have that really nice resonant sound. Now, one of my favorites of the bunch is the Thunderbird. And so this one here is just like a Hohner crossover. It has that same bamboo comb that you get on the crossover. And as I said earlier, it has this like taper down. So we have the low holes are a little bit taller, and then it kind of goes to a normal harmonica height by the end of the instrument. And this really gets that nice kind of vibraty, growly tone that I love out of low harmonicas. I really love the sound of the Thunderbird. It's just so raspy and resonant. And the other harmonicas that I went over today could also feel that way if they were in lower keys. So really all the low harmonicas have similar qualities, and it's just up to whatever style of harmonica you like the best. But I think this Thunderbird is really great. Now, as I said with the other one, right, as you go lower, the bends get harder. This is a low A, and the bends are really hard to do. I really gotta crank my tongue down to hit those bends, and I just can't execute them as quickly as I can on other harmonicas. So in some ways, this harmonica is a lot harder to play than most other harmonicas in my collection, and it's going to get harder the lower you go down in keys. So that's the general idea of low harmonicas. You're gonna play a lot of chord-based stuff on them. You can use them to play with other people, but generally the lower you go, the less useful it's going to be. One thing that you may want to consider is, let's say when we have some of the higher low keys, like this is an F sharp, right? If you have another harmonica that's in the higher key, it could be nice switching between them, like if you're playing a song. So as an example, there's some songs that I do that I'm playing on the low harmonica mostly to start to do maybe some chords. And it just has a very different sound. And then when I really want a big pop in the song, I'll pick up the harmonica an octave higher. So I'll pick up the high F sharp, and it will just cut through, and that difference is really interesting. And you could do that with really all of the low keys, but again, as you go lower, then you're just gonna have to deal with some other problems like the bends being harder to execute on. And there's plenty of other low harmonicas that you can get on the market aside from these three. Suzuki Manji has a full line of low harmonicas. harmonicas. Just a whole bunch of different manufacturers cover low harmonicas, but the ones I'd really recommend are the ones that I went over today. The Thunderbird, which is essentially the crossover, the Rocket Low, which has the blue cone, and the Seydel 1847 Low. So that's the deal with low harmonicas. I suggest you check some of these out. I'll have links down in the description, and I'll see you next time. If you want to learn how to play any of the things that I played today, I have the tabs down below in the description, and of course check out my free scale cheat sheet if you want to learn the scales on harmonica and learn how to improvise like I am doing here. That's it for this week. Peace.